I'm going to show you today how to do a very basic hem. You're going to get a length of thread, maybe about 12 to 18 inches. You don't want to work with thread that's too long. It'll just get tangled up on you and it starts to wear out. You want to make sure the end of your thread is cut neatly, not all frayed. And you're going to pass it through the eye of the needle. You can see mine's a little frayed here. So I'm going to take that off. Sometimes it's gross, but you have to lick it and dampen it a little bit. And I'm going to pass my thread through the eye of the needle and just pull it back so that you have one end longer than the other. The end that you're going to be sewing and anchoring, you want to make some sort of little knot at the end. So some people roll it around their finger and then just roll it off and pull it. That never works for me. So I just like to go like this, make a little knot. There's some other types of knots we can make, but they're a little bit more complicated. So to keep your thread from flipping back on itself a lot, you want to use some sort of conditioner. So you can run it over some beeswax, or there's a little container of stuff called Thread Heaven, which I had shown you the first day, and it'll just help keep your thread from turning back on itself and getting stuck. So once you've got your knot tied, you're going to lift up this is the hem. So we folded it up at 1 inch. And I've actually sewn along here with my sewing machine a little row of sort of stay stitching to keep it from unraveling as I'm handling it. I didn't require that you do that for the sample, but if you want to, that's fine. And then, so lift up the corner of your fabric and bring your needle up through the fabric. So you're only bringing it up through the hem, not through the outside of the garment. We don't want to see this on the outside of the garment. And then I'm just going to take a couple of threads, I'm sticking my needle through, and I'm going to anchor it. That way I know that it's secure, it's not going to come out. And then I'm just going to be taking and going across about 1/4 inch, and I'm going to grab a couple of yarns with my needle. You can see that I'm not taking a lot of, like a deep stab where I've come across and I'm taking a big stitch. Really small stitch. And you can see that it's not going through the hem, it's going through the garment. And I'm just going to pull it through, and then my thread will lay at an angle across the top. Then I'm going to come down about another 1/4 inch, and I'm going to grab a couple of yarns in the hem itself. And you can see I can lift up on the hem. I'm not going through to the outside because we don't want to have 2 rows of threads showing. So I'm just going to continue to go up and grab a couple threads, then come down and pierce through a couple of threads, but just pick up on it a little bit so it's not going through to the outside. And so I would say that the dimension of about 1/4 inch is good, because then you're from start to finish, it's about 1/2 inch when you combine the 2 stitches together. And so I'm coming down. This seems to be wanting to grab the front, so you have to lift up on it. But you don't want to grab a lot of threads. You're only just grabbing a few. You've really got to look at that weave and see your threads running this way and your threads running that way. And you're just trying to grab a couple of those lengthwise yarns that are in the weave of the fabric. And you're just going to continue back and forth across, real simple, sort of like a slip stitch or a catch stitch. And then when you're finished, you'll tie it off at the other end. So it winds up looking a little sort of like zigzaggy like this. And if I flip it over, you can see that it's barely showing on the front surface, just little catches of the thread. If we were using matching thread, you wouldn't even see it once you press this afterwards. So, but use a contrasting thread so that I can see your work when you photograph it. I want you to photograph both the front and the back. So go all the way across. Now, if you've gone online and you've looked at some YouTube videos, they may have shown you to turn this edge under and pin it and sew from the other end. So I'm going to show you that. If you're not new to sewing, if you've sewn some hems and you want to give this one a try, you could do the sample with like half and half, or you can just do this. It's acceptable. This is a little sometimes more difficult for a beginning student to grasp what's happening here. So you would fold it under, and then you would fold back your garment and just leave exposed that little row of the part that you've turned under. And so we're basically going to do the same stitch. So I'm going to anchor my stitching down here. I have a knot in it. And you're going to do that same thing where you go back and forth. So I'm going up here, I'm taking a tiny stitch in my hem section, and then I'm coming down and I'm taking a tiny stitch along the fold of my garment. So I'm going to go up and down like that. This would be my personal choice on a lot of unlined garments is to do this, and you're basically doing the same stitch, but you're creating a blind effect where you can't see it on the surface. So I'm going up and down from the folded part of the hem to the folded part of the garment. And again, you're just grabbing a few yarns. You're not really stabbing through and making a big stitch, because then it will show. And here we're trying to have an effect that you don't see the stitching. So when I'm finished, I would fold this back down and press it, and you'll see that you have a really nice neat hem. And on the front surface, again, all you've got are those tiny little spots where the needle has pierced the fabric. Let me press this and you'll see both of them. So after I've pressed the hem, you can see that all you see is those little tiny pick marks. And when you turn it over on the other side, it looks really nice and neat. So either one, this is the basic that I've really asked you guys to do. I apologize if the other video quality, you couldn't really see everything. I just checked it and noticed that it's a little on the fuzzy side, and it has to do with, you know, compressing the video and trying to upload something that is small enough that it doesn't take days to upload. So I'm going to send this one out today in case anybody's having any trouble with the hem. So good luck, get your hems done and uploaded to the portal, and then we'll be moving on